Alrighty guys, hi, it's Amanda. Welcome back to my channel. I hope you're having a great day today. As always, if you're new or returning and you haven't yet already, please be sure you're subscribed, like the video or dislike it, as well as leave any comments, questions, or concerns down below. Today I'm going to be talking about a creator that has been being exposed lately for some very terrible behavior, both by survivors as well as other creators trying to uplift the survivors' voices. I intend this to probably be one video of several where I am discussing and providing my opinion about this situation. Everything that I talk about, keep in mind, is alleged, although there are screenshots and things to support a lot of what is happening due to legal reasons. We're all having to use the word alleged for obvious reasons. So I am going to be talking and sharing some clips from another creator who has discussed and gone over the situations with Anna Campbell very thoroughly. I will be playing a few bits of two different videos of hers, and I will link both of those videos down below in case you need background information. I'm also going to link Xylee, who has gone over a lot of these videos in live streams and providing context. So if you're interested and you haven't heard anything about what's going on, there will be some videos down below to provide you some context if this is your first time hearing about this creator. This creator is an adult, and that is a big issue when we get into further topics. I'm not going to be talking about some of the more severe concerns. If you are easily triggered by talking about DV or talking about mental health and manipulation of mental health, I would highly advise you not watch this. That is primarily where my focus is going to be in this video, just as an introduction to kind of allow people to understand the back end of what is going on. So there are several survivors of Anna Campbell who have come out, who have had very traumatic relationships, both intimate relationships and just friendly relationships, who have been coming out and discussing how it was to be close to this individual. And there is a lot of different scenarios that all co-align. One of the biggest issues that I have had is in watching these survivors tell their experience and talk about their trauma. One thing that they all have in common is the fact that they felt Anna was a mental health specialist, and because of that they felt more comfortable with talking to her about their own mental health needs. And in turn, what I have observed in all of their stories and in people discussing this and what Anna has said herself, I find a problem with this. I have done as much research as I could to try and figure out what Anna's background is for her to be labeled a mental health specialist, and I can't find exactly what her education is in. A few people have said that she has a psychology degree, but they're unsure if it is a bachelor's or a master's. And that does make a difference. At a bachelor's level, you typically are just doing casework. You're not really diagnosing. You don't have the ability to diagnose with bachelor's. More in almost any degree, you have to have a master's or a PhD. So I find that interesting. It's not viewable anywhere. On famous birthdays, since she has a large following, she is somebody who's on there, and it says, it mentions that she began working as a mental health specialist at a psychiatric hospital. To me, that can mean a number of things, but if your audience is young and they don't really know and they just hear that you've worked as a mental health specialist, they may put more weight to what you're saying, and in a way that's manipulation. If you don't have the credentials to diagnose or to help people work through their issues, you can be misleading them. You can be giving them misinformation. You can cause more harm than good. That's why you have to have certain credentials to be able to diagnose and to be able to work with people who have these mental health needs. There are jobs that you can get at a bachelor's level or even without a degree, with just a high school diploma, where you're doing casework and you're working with people who do have mental health and you're assisting them through very basic, normal functioning things, it does not necessarily mean that you were on the forefront diagnosing and helping people work through their mental health diagnoses. So for me, this has been a huge red flag that she claims to be the specialist, but she doesn't share anywhere that I have been able to find what her actual credentials are to be labeled this mental health specialist. And she uses the fact that she has this mental health specialist background as leverage for people to confide in her and feel comfortable with her. And she almost at times has weaponized it, in my opinion, in these relationships she has had with these women. And that is very, very damaging. In a society where we are trying to break down the stigma around mental health, it is only furthering the damage to society and to people if you aren't qualified and you are trying to do things that you technically shouldn't be doing on an ethical standpoint. Now, again, I don't know what her actual credentials are. Maybe she is able to diagnose, maybe she is able to work with people in a particular way, but without knowing her degree and what her field of study is, aside from psychology, it's really hard to tell if she was working in an ethical standpoint or not. So that is the first red flag that I have. With that comes in play the power and dynamic issues that were at play with all of her survivors. And some of them in the clips that I show will kind of talk about how there was a power imbalance. I am going to share with you guys a power and control wheel for DV relationships and talk to you guys about this in case you haven't seen it before. Different ones do look differently. This is the one by the National Center for, you guys can see what the words are, for DV and SA. So here's the wheel, and it just talks about the different kinds of violence that can be in a relationship. And within the wheel, it discusses how the person who is acting these things out, typically they're called P words and not like CP, but the other P, just the back end of it, is coercion and threats, making and or carrying out threats to do something to hurt them, threatening to leave them, or committing sue, you know that word, or reporting them to any kind of authority, making them drop any legal cases that you maybe had filed, or making the person, the survivor, do illegal activities on their own. There's also intimidation that is typically used, making them afraid by using looks, actions, and gestures, smashing things, destroying property, and using other forms of intimidation. There's also emotional abuse that is characterized, which is putting the person down, making them feel bad about themselves, calling them names, making them think that they are crazy, playing mind games, and humiliating them and making them feel guilty. They also isolate, meaning they try to control everything that that person is doing. They control who they talk to, who they see, what they do, and limiting their outside involvement. And they often will utilize jealousy to justify their actions in doing all of the isolation. They also participate in minimizing, denying, and blaming, meaning that they're making light of the ABUSC that is occurring and not taking any concern that they have seriously, kind of brushing it off, saying that it's not happening, shifting responsibility of the person doing these things onto the survivor and that they caused it, making it their fault. They also, if you have children involved, they usually will use children as a pawn. They also will engage in economic like money issues. So preventing them from getting a job and then asking for money, or making it to where they have to ask for money, giving an allowance, or taking their money if they have any of their own, or not letting them have access or holding it over their head. And then this other part does not really play into this particular situation, but you can see, keep all of these things in mind as we go into these clips from videos, because they are going to have a strong impact to showing that almost every single one of these, which are relevant, are used by Anna Campbell to these survivors. And it is extremely damaging, especially in the way that she manipulates and utilizes the mental health aspect. And she holds her mental health over theirs. And she continues this rhetoric that she's a mental health specialist, which is why these ladies, from what I have seen and what my opinion is, why these ladies had entrusted in talking about their mental health with her, which again, depending on her credentials, would have been an issue. Not to mention, it's an ethical issue for anyone who does have the credentials to diagnose or work with people who have mental health. It is an ethical issue to treat or try to help anyone that you are in a relationship with, or you are a family member. That is almost a break of your code of ethics. So it's questionable, let alone that she was engaging in these behaviors. So first we're going to watch a little snippet of one of videos where one of the survivors has shared some text messages, and you can see the kind of language that Anna is using and manipulating by having mental health and holding mental health over them. You will probably hear the creator talk about some of this as we play it. This first clip is pretty short. I'm just going to go through the text messages that we see here. And then the next clip is a little bit longer, of another survivor who is discussing very similar things that are in line with what I have just discussed.
Now I'm going to be showing receipts of some mental abuse. I'm not going to be doing voiceovers for these because honestly I think they speak for themselves. This is a screenshot of a conversation Anna was having with Kaylee's best friend while Kaylee was in Vegas, and this is Anna saying that it's Kaylee's fault that Anna wants to kill herself.
Okay, so I know it moves pretty quick, and if you care to see each individual part, you can pause to be able to read the messages, and you can see that almost every aspect of what we showed on that wheel is being played, and she is manipulating and using against these individuals. This is a problem. This person should not be able to do this any longer. There have been multiple survivors at this point, and they are brave women to feel comfortable and confident enough to come out and tell their stories, and I applaud every single one of them, and I hope they get nothing but support from communities and that they don't deal with a bunch of backlash, because this creator, Anna Campbell, has a large fan base that clearly she has manipulated them. She's manipulated them with this mental health specialist aspect. She has manipulated them by calling them the love of her life. She has been inappropriate with them on multiple occasions, and we will go into that in further videos. I just want to show some of this, and this is from one survivor of hers. Now we're going to watch some clips of another survivor where she is actually talking about her experience, and it's not going to be the whole thing. It is about 6 or 7 minutes long, where she is discussing parts that are relevant to the mental health being used against her, as well as some of the coercion and intimidation that was happening. So I am going to go ahead and share that clip with you guys. And again, these videos are going to be linked down below.
Used me as her go-to whenever she did not like someone anymore. For instance, when she broke up with her ex Natalia and her ex Taylor for the first time, because Taylor and her were on and off, like whenever that would happen, she would make me unfollow them. She would make me hate them too. Like she would feed me information that was very biased, and she would basically just manipulate me into disliking everybody who basically did not like her. And she kept me on her side through every scandal she's ever been in, ever, up until like recently. And she knew that I was the one person who would never like let her down, who would never leave her side, just because of how much she saved my life and how much I idolized and look up to her. She considered me her daughter. Like she referred to me as her daughter all the time. Also, she would call me her little sister, like depending. Like we had like that type of relationship. There was a very big power dynamic between us, but I looked at it as like a mother-daughter, sister, little sister, big sister relationship, and that's what she did too. Like that's what she referred to it as. And she made me feel very special by like telling me a bunch of secrets. She would always tell me about her issues and like secrets about her exes and secrets that like you really shouldn't be telling any minor. Like she was way too comfortable with me, and it was very manipulative too, because she would skew my views on other people based on her narratives and perspectives, and she knew that I was very easily influenced at this time because of how much I looked up to her. And yeah, another thing that Anna did throughout our entire relationship was she would use me as her therapist. Keep in mind, I was a 16, 17, 18, as the years went on, like year-old, and she was using me as her therapist, as someone in her mid-20s, and she would vent to me about like all of her issues, including drug issues and mental illness and family problems and this, that, and the other thing. And she would always say like, I'm always here for you too, like you're very special to me, like you're my favorite viewer, like blah blah blah. And the thing is, whenever I needed her, she would never be there for me. And it's not like I went out of my way to initiate conversations about myself with Anna. Like I never really reached out and said like, hey, I need you right now, like maybe like once or twice. But something that I would do is I would like post about my feelings in general. Like if I was having a bad day, I might have tweeted like, I'm having an awful day today, whatever. And Anna would initiate with me. Like she would see my tweets or post on my Finsta, because she follows all of my accounts on every platform, and she would reach out to me personally and be like, talk to me, like when you see this, please talk to me, like are you okay, yada yada yada. And I would answer her and I would tell her what was wrong, because she's asking me what's wrong. It's not like I'm going to her and asking her for help. And then she would just ignore me, and then she would either ignore me, like gloss over it, and then she would vent about herself, like, and I had to be there for her. Like I was carrying the burden of my problems and hers as well, because I felt like I had to be there for her. She was always putting her problems on me, and I wanted to be there for her. Like I wanted her to be like, I was there for her too, like, and I thought she was there for me too, because she told me that she always would be, but she never was. And she would flaunt me to all of her followers. She would always tweet like, I love Maddie, like Maddie is my daughter, she would like advertise me to all of her followers, and everyone knew me as like strong for Anna, like Anna's closest viewer. Like a lot of people were even jealous of me and like wanted me to get them closer to Anna. People would message me every day, like with stuff like that. And little did they know that behind the scenes it was just me being Anna's therapist. And so as I got a little bit older, like more towards 18-ish, 19-ish, I decided I was starting to come to my senses more, and I decided to like start expressing to Anna like how much I like was affected by her, like how much she was hurting me, and like just being honest. And it was a huge step for me. I was terrified to do that. I was scared of upsetting her. And sure enough, every single time that I did that, like expressed to her that she had hurt me by everything that she does to me, she would threaten suicide. Like if I told her like I needed to like distance myself, or tell her that like I wanted her to apologize to me, like a lot of the times all I wanted was an apology. And she would threaten suicide, or she would make me feel super guilty. And I can count like on my hand like probably like 10 times where she gave me an apology, but the apology just sounded like this. It was like, I'm sorry that you feel this way. I don't know what I did to not make you feel special. All I do is show you how much I love you. I bought you Starbucks, I bought you Wendy's, I took you to the club, I spent time with you in hotel rooms, I let you spend the weekend with me in Boston, I gave you my free merch, I did this, that, and the other thing for you. Like she would just give me like a list of everything she's ever done for me, basically telling me that I had no reason to be upset with her. And whenever she would do that, I would start feeling really guilty. Like I would be like, you're right, like you're so good, like you're so good to me, like I'm sorry, I take it back. Like I would just like submit to her basically because I felt bad.
So from just the few clips that I have shown from 2 videos, and these are very small portions of the videos that has put out there, you can see and you can hear how this person, Anna Campbell, was manipulating and putting into play a lot of these elements to these survivors. And she was using these things when it came to mental health as a guise of being a specialist. I am sorry, if you are a specialist or you are credentialed to be able to work with people and their problems, I already have an issue with the ethical aspect of you working with these problems with people you have relationships with. Secondly, you are using that to your advantage, and you are dangling your knowledge of your own mental health and the own struggles that you deal with. You're using it as a manipulation tactic. And it is absolutely disgusting. Anyone who is an advocate for mental health would know not to dangle their own mental health issues or pressure people that they are close to with their mental health issues, or threaten or say that they are the reason that they are potentially questioning about living any longer. I cannot grasp any sense of what is going on in this individual's head. I genuinely, it doesn't even matter to me at the end of the day if this individual is qualified to act in the manner that they did. It's one thing to advocate and talk and try and break stigma about mental health. It is a totally different thing when you are using your mental health and you are using the mental health of the people you care about as manipulation tactics, and to guilt them and to put into play this power and control wheel. It is absolutely deplorable. It is absolutely disgusting, and you are further stigmatizing the issues with mental health, and you are further hiding what it can be to be someone who acts as a P word when it comes to DV. This person, in my opinion, Anna Campbell, in my opinion, is a P word of DV. Not only in the mental health realm, but also emotionally. Every single video that I have watched, whether it be from the survivors or people trying to raise the survivors' voices, I am absolutely appalled. And this person needs to stop trying to push out to her young audience that she is a mental health specialist. Because the way that you behave is not any way that an actual mental health specialist would, or an advocate of mental health. I am so frustrated and so beyond words when it comes to this, let alone the other information that we'll be discussing in later videos regarding this creator. If you are someone who have watched them or have previously supported them, it is not your fault if you did not know that this is the kind of way this person was, because when you have somebody who engages in these kinds of behaviors, they often are wolves in sheep's clothing. So don't feel bad. But now you can be more informed. I am going to link a number of videos down below, both the ones that I have used for this video, as well as several others who have discussed this, as well as some of the survivors who have come out with their stories. If you are unaware and you want to be more aware of the situation, if you want to know what's going on, if you're new to this story, I do highly implore you to watch these videos, give these survivors support, and by no means am I encouraging anyone to send any negativity or hate towards Anna Campbell. Please don't engage in that. Please don't further her engagement on any kind of platform by trying to be hurtful or hateful. It does nothing at the end of the day. It is not worth it. Just be informed, be aware, and please protect yourselves. With all of this being said, I hope you guys have a good day, evening, or night, wherever you guys are, and until the next one. Bye.